Hi everyone, this is the Conflicted Critic with my first ever YouTube video on my newly created YouTube channel. So first of all, a brief introduction about myself and about my channel and why I decided to create this channel in the first place. So my name is Ahmed, I live in Karachi, Pakistan, and I describe myself as a person who loves to read books and who loves to talk about them. Because as soon as I finish a book, there's this curiosity within me, and there's this budding feeling to sort of express whatever I've read and to discuss whatever I've read with the people who I know and with my friends and with my family. So this channel that I've created, the space that I've created, is for myself and for me to sort of share share my opinion and share my feelings as to the books that I've read and how the major thematic elements of the book can apply to today's world and apply to our lives and our stories as well, right? So this channel is going to be all about books for the foreseeable future, and without any further ado, let's jump right into our first book of the day, which is our first book of this channel, in fact, which is Contact by Carl Sagan. So most of you would know Carl Sagan as the scientist, as the scientist who has done so much for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the scientist who has done so much to make science more approachable for the general public, because mostly scientists tend to overcomplicate stuff, even though it is complicated, right? Science is very intricate and very complex, right? But scientists who make an effort to make scientific facts and scientific theory legible and understandable for the general public, so that people can quell their curiosity and can also develop their intellect and sort of realize the strides that science has been making over the past century. Those people are commendable. And Carl Sagan is one of those few individuals who has done so much to make science widely known, who has done so much to make us respect and realize the importance of the SETI project, which is basically the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And he's sort of given a perspective to us that we are nothing compared to the universe, and we are nothing compared to the possibility of advanced beings out there who have the power and who have the control to sort of manipulate us and sort of dominate us, right? And Carl Sagan has done a lot in terms of searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, in terms of you know making this information widely known, that there is quite a high possibility that there are much advanced beings out there. And I've read his non-fiction, Pale Blue Dot: A Vision of Human Future in Space. And in that book, he sort of, talks about the major projects that the United States, in collaboration with other countries, has taken for the SETI project, and the projects that NASA has developed in order to, sort of develop a communication, develop a link with any possible beings who reside in the billions of galaxies out there in our cosmos, right? And apart from that, he's also given his own perspective regarding SETI, regarding the possibility of extraterrestrial life, and also regarding the barriers that humans place upon themselves in the search for extraterrestrial life. We're so engrossed and we're so busy in solving our own conflicts and in solving our own problems and in solving the day-to-day problems, the day-to-day nuisances that keep us busy and that keep us grounded, that we sort of never develop the time and develop the intellectual capacity, the intellectual space to sort of shift our mentality, shift our thinking towards the universe itself, towards the cosmos itself. So his book was revolutionary. Pale Blue Dot is considered to be one of his most famous pieces of writing. But to transform the message that he portrays in Pale Blue Dot into a story, into a fiction, uh, you know, at first I was skeptical. At first I thought, he's not a writer in the truest sense, because he's not a storyteller. He tells stories through scientific facts and scientific theory. But when he needs to develop characters and develop storylines, would he be able to achieve the same success and to achieve the same significance? And after reading Contact, I have been left utterly satisfied. Satisfied by the story, satisfied by the characters, satisfied by the storyline progression, satisfied by the the metaphors and the message that Sagan wants to portray through his entire story. So the story is about Ellie Arroway, who happens to be a radio astronomer, and she loves radios from a very young age. Her father has always encouraged her to study and to take a deep interest in extraterrestrial intelligence and in the exploration of the universe. So she's always been a child who has been, who has lived her life in wonderment of the universe, wonderment of the cosmos, and she wants to be a radio astronomer. She wants to own this occupation when a lot of scientists have rejected it as fallacy, right? And she's lost her father at a very young age, and she's sort of recuperating with this trauma, with this fact, and simultaneously she's sort of developing as a radio astronomer. And something happens in the book. There's this, thing that happens, which comes at a time when Ellie needs it. Her project is going downhill. No one is supporting her. All of the major physicists and scientists have already termed her approach and termed her project to be something that is a waste of money, waste of time, because when there is a radio facility, where there are huge satellites and huge antennas and huge observatories, you need to buy your time over there. You need to officially contact the government and buy time to conduct your research in such a facility. And SETI is such a huge project that it requires a huge amount of funding, huge amount of time, and the government has always been reluctant in providing that, because the government feels that such research is not directly contributing to the government's own agendas, right? So Ellie's project is going downhill. There's been nothing in terms of any sign of extraterrestrial life since so many years, and she's about to give up hope. And then there comes a shock to everyone, an anomaly, and everyone, and then the entire story is about Ellie and her fellow scientists, reacting to this and responding to this, and their entire adventure after that. So I wouldn't want to spoil the fun for anyone who wants to read this book, but I'll move on to the major, the major thematic elements of the book next. So through this narrative and through the entire story, Sagan sort of pushes the fact that governments and people belonging to organized religions, they always want to find their own self-interest whenever something of this nature comes up. They either consider it fallacy, they either consider it to be superstition, or when there's proof and when there's fact, that there is someone out there, that there is extraterrestrial life, they want to use it for their own ends, either by creating stories regarding it, either by saying that they had already predicted that something of this sort is going to happen, or their religious scriptures or their religious texts have already predicted it, or the governments sort of tend to politicize even this fact. Any major scientific revolution is politicized by governments and is used by governments for their own agendas, and to sort of go one up against other countries and against other political systems and political ideologies. So this book is all about how Ellie and her team navigates through all of this, convinces people regarding the purity of scientific research, convinces people regarding the purity of searching for extraterrestrial life, and how it is leaps and bounds above everything that humans can imagine, and the petty politics of governments and the petty superstition and harangues of religious fundamentalists and hooligans. It's above all of that. It's more profound, it's more pure than all of that combined. So the defining feature of this book is probably probably Carl's imagination. You know, the way that he links the ending to Ellie's own personality, to Ellie's own past, and how he signifies that every person has a sort of meaning attached to them in this world, especially Ellie, who is the main character of the book, and how her entire story and how her entire adventure in this book, how her interaction with other beings, other worlds, sort of ultimately ends as a closed circle. She comes back to the point where she began from, and she realizes that everything that she sought out, you know, and everything that she wanted to know about the world, about the universe, she already knew, and she had to all of those go through all of those steps, traverse all of those journeys, traverse all of those worlds, meet all of those beings, interact with all of the people on earth, fight her wars, to realize that whatever she wanted to know, she already knew. So the conclusion of the book, in my opinion, is the defining factor. And reading it gave me the chills, because it sort of made me realize that so much of what we are searching, so much of what we're what we aspire to be, we already are. But we need to cover that journey. We need to sort of face those problems and face those conflicts that are a part of life, in order to understand that we already have that purity, we already have that peace, and we already have the capability to achieve the goals that we've already set out to achieve, right? So that for me was the defining feature of the book. Now, who will I recommend this book to? I think it's when you talk about the book, there are a few weak features, because for the pure linguists, or for the people who love literature, who love the English language, and who love narrations and prose that is impeccable, I think this book would be sort of fragmented for them. This book would sort of go up and down at times. There's certain problems of legibility towards the end. I felt a problem regarding that, because obviously Sagan wasn't a storyteller. He wasn't a renowned fiction writer. He was a researcher. He was a person who told scientific facts. So these problems I expected of his book. These problems were things that that I was ready for, that I had an open mind for. So at a lot of times in the book, I felt that the narration could have been better. The way in which the characters were written, the way in which the story progressed in terms of words, in terms of structure, could have been better. But people who love physics, people who love imagining, imagining their ideas, imagining greater concepts, considering the basic physics concepts as as the groundwork for them, I think this book is really well, because the way in which it immerses reality with science fiction, and with the known physical laws that are scientific fact. The way it sort of intersperses all of them, uh, borders on reality almost all of the time. Never would you think as to Carl Sagan has sort of done an injustice to physics over here, because he's a physicist. He knows the point till which physics can be stretched, or physics can be explored. He knows where to end and where to begin from, and he knows where a story can go into the realms of idiocy, or into the realms of things that cannot be achieved by modern day physics. So he stays within the real physical laws, the known physical laws, the known celestial bodies, and he sort of creates his story and keeps his story within those laws. So you never escape realism in this book. That's the most defining feature of the book, in my opinion. And to physics enthusiasts, to physicists, to people who love science, to people who love to conjecture about science, to think about science, and to develop an intellectual capacity and curiosity about physics, and the search for extraterrestrial life, and the exploration of the cosmos, I think this book is perfect for them, because it will keep you in the domain of reality, and simultaneously it will give you the space to to think, and to apply all of those laws, and to apply all of those concepts to yourself. So in conclusion, I think the reading this book was a great experience. There's also a movie about this book, which stars Matthew McConaughey. Right, he happens to be my favorite actor. So yeah, It stars Matthew McConaughey, and the character which portrays Ellie, I forget the name of the character, even though she's a very famous actress. She was also in The Silence of the Lambs, the lead role. I forget her name. I don't know why I forget it, but she's a very famous actress, and she plays Ellie, and Matthew McConaughey plays another character, which I wouldn't want to reveal to you guys. So yeah, you can read the book first. You can watch the movie later, or you can watch the movie first or read the book later. But I'd recommend to read the book first to know the depths which was Sagan, till which Sagan has stepped into in this book. The physics that he's described in this book is so real, is so uh, you know is so strong that you get an idea that if extraterrestrial life were to appear on this earth, were to establish a contact, establish a communication with this earth, it would be in the way that this book tells you, and it would be in the way that the movie describes it to happen, right? So it borders on reality, and that's a chilling part of the book, that in the next few years, if such a thing happens, it will be very very close to the scenario that this book puts forth. So yeah, read the book. It's for all of the science fiction people out there, but also the people who love physics, who love scientific laws, who love reading about the cosmos, reading about the universe. It's a book about it's a book for all of you, in fact. So yeah, here was my first book review regarding Contact by Carl Sagan. We'll meet next time with another book review, and I try to keep it fiction, non-fiction, and then I'd also want to keep a poetry book for the review as well, because I love talking about poetry too and love writing poetry too. And that brings me to the fact that I've connected my Instagram account to the caption of this video, where you can visit for my poetry, and where you can also visit for my cinematic snippets or cinematic sequences that I really love and that are really meaningful for me. So yeah, till next time, have a very very happy reading experience, and we'll meet next time with another book and another story. Goodbye.